In the silent vastness of the cosmos, an angel moves through the dark. Its wings stretch farther than light can travel, not bound by matter or time, but woven into the fabric of reality itself. It glides between stars like a thought passing through the mind of the universe. Around it, galaxies turn slowly, each spiral a quiet storm of birth and death, of fire and shadow. The angel does not speak, does not breathe, does not age. It simply exists, a presence older than memory, forgotten by worlds that never knew it. Nebulae bloom like petals in the void, their colors shifting as if dreaming. The angel passes through them without a ripple, disturbing nothing, leaving only a faint shimmer behind. Each particle of dust it touches remembers the moment forever, though no voice will tell of it. In the distance, a supernova explodes in silence, scattering the bones of a star across the Black Sea. The angel turns its gaze toward it, not in fear or wonder, but in recognition. It has seen this before, countless times, the end of light and the beginning of something new. Through asteroid fields and ancient ruins of forgotten civilizations, the angel continues. It passes the shattered hulls of derelict ships, drifting tombs filled with stories no one will read. Sometimes, the remnants of signals still echo faintly, static whispers bouncing across time, fragments of last words and unfinished dreams. The angel does not stop to mourn them. It knows nothing is truly lost. Every end feeds another beginning. Far beyond the reach of any sun, in a corner of the cosmos where light grows thin and silence deepens, something shifts. A ripple, almost imperceptible, spreads through space like a breath. The angel pauses. It has no eyes, yet it sees. It has no ears, yet it hears. What stirs is not a thing, not a creature, but a moment. A turning point. The universe leans toward it, ever so slightly, like a balance tipping. The angel understands without understanding. It moves again, not faster, not slower, but with a purpose it cannot name. Planets turn in isolation, their surfaces cracked and cold, their skies empty. Yet beneath them, life pulses. Microscopic, invisible, stubborn. The angel drifts above these hidden worlds, sensing the rhythm of new beginnings in their frozen hearts. It does not interfere. It never does. It was not made to shape or to judge. It only witnesses. But now, something has changed. The witnessing has weight. Meaning. Not because the universe demands it, but because something within the angel has awakened. It moves through time not as a river, but as a sea, stepping between epochs as easily as crossing a breeze. It sees civilizations rise from mud and flame, build towers of light, send their thoughts into the stars. It watches them fall, not with cruelty, but with inevitability. Some vanish without a trace, others leave echoes, satellites still orbiting dead worlds, libraries buried in ash, music drifting endlessly through space, waiting for ears that may never come. The angel hears it all. It does not forget. In the core of a collapsing galaxy, the angel lingers. Stars spiral inward, drawn into the crushing heart of a black hole. Time stretches, distorts, dances on the edge of vanishing. The angel remains still. It is not afraid. It has lived in places where time does not breathe. Here, at the edge of unbeing, it senses something ancient, something vast and waiting. Not a creature. Not a god. A memory of the universe itself. The angel leans toward it, its wings trembling with something like recognition. Perhaps it has been here before. Perhaps this is where it began. It turns away, not because the moment has passed, but because it understands that not all questions seek answers. Some only seek presence. And that is what the angel offers. Not explanation. Not intervention. Only a presence that does not fade. The stars continue to spin. The darkness continues to stretch. And the angel moves on, not as a traveler, not as a guardian, but as something more elusive. A thread of consciousness stitched into the fabric of everything, always watching, always remembering, always becoming. It drifts onward, not bound to any one trajectory, yet every motion guided by a deep, unspoken rhythm embedded in the laws of the cosmos. Around it, the universe reveals its structure in quiet, intricate detail. Filaments of dark matter stretch between galaxy clusters like sinews connecting the skeleton of existence, invisible yet essential. The angel does not perceive them in the way a being of mass would, it senses the gravitational tension, the hidden scaffolding that defines the shape of all things. This is not emptiness, it is architecture. In one arm of a spiral galaxy, it passes through a region dense with molecular clouds. These are the nurseries of stars, chaotic regions of dust and gas collapsing under their own gravity. In radio frequencies, they sing with the slow, stately music of hydrogen, carbon monoxide, and ionized elements swirling in turbulent harmony. Protostars flicker within, wrapped in accretion disks, their eventual fusion a promise rather than a present fact. The angel glides silently between them, feeling the moment before ignition, the tipping point between non-existence and flame. It crosses paths with a planetary system in the later stages of its evolution. The central star, now a red giant, bloats outward, devouring its inner planets. Outer moons, once frozen, have begun to thaw in the increasing heat, their subsurface oceans boiling to the surface in towering geysers. Life that once slept in the dark stirs beneath the cracking ice, only to face extinction in the blaze of their dying sun. But even here, in these final moments, the chemistry of life persists, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, silicon, dancing briefly in complex patterns before falling still. The angel observes this not as tragedy, but as a phase of transformation. In the debris of these deaths, elements will scatter and reassemble. Iron forged in the dying heart of the star will seed the next generation of worlds. The universe does not mourn. It recycles. Beyond, in the halo of another galaxy, rogue planets drift in darkness, unbound by stellar gravity. These cold, wandering worlds roam intergalactic space, some with atmospheres clinging faintly to their cores, others frozen solid for billions of years. One such planet has a magnetosphere, a shield against cosmic radiation, powered not by a sun, but by an ancient, slowly spinning iron heart. In its underground caverns, extremophile organisms cluster near geothermal vents, thriving in chemical symbiosis. There is no light, no sky, no surface. Yet still, life endures. The angel lingers, curious. Further along its journey, it moves through the event horizon of a supermassive black hole, not falling, not trapped, but observing the strange geometry of spacetime as it twists inward. Here, gravity stretches the very fabric of existence. Photons spiral in closed orbits. Time slows to a crawl. To any outside observer, the angel would seem frozen, unmoving. But from within, it sees the singularity not as destruction, but as a gateway to new topology. Perhaps to another universe. Perhaps to a point of rebirth. It does not pass through. Not yet. It only watches, storing the shape of spacetime within its memory. The angel has no need for propulsion, no hunger, no fear. But it possesses an exquisite sensitivity to entropy, to the direction of time's arrow. It can feel the gradual cooling of the cosmos, the slow dissipation of usable energy. Stars are less frequent now than in earlier epochs. The age of light is far from over, but the arc is visible. Eventually, galaxies will dim. Matter will decay. The fabric of reality will flatten into uniformity. But even then, in that deep and distant future, quantum fluctuations may stir again, giving birth to new forms, new cycles. The angel knows this, feels it as surely as it senses starlight. It moves through space not as a particle, nor as a wave, but as something else, a pattern, perhaps, or a symmetry. Its presence is a mirror held up to the cosmos, reflecting the structures of physics and information. Where it goes, entropy does not reverse, but awareness increases. Complexity re-emerges, even if just for a moment. Its journey is not one of interference but resonance, amplifying the silent music of the universe until it can be heard, even briefly, by itself. And so it continues, through star fields and voids, through cosmic radiation and nebular light, charting not a course but a continuity, not to reach an end, but to remain aligned with the unfolding logic of creation. It is not a message. It is not a question. It is an answer still becoming. Beyond the luminous tendrils of familiar galaxies, the angel crosses into intergalactic space, where the density of matter drops to near nothing, and the background radiation, relic of the Big Bang, bathes everything in a uniform, ancient glow. It senses the subtle anisotropies in this microwave background, the faint imprints of quantum fluctuations that once rippled through a seething primordial soup. These ripples, frozen into the fabric of spacetime, shaped all structure, the galaxies, the voids, the cosmic web. They are the universe's original fingerprint, and the angel moves through them like a reader tracing the ink of a forgotten manuscript. It glides near a globular cluster, a dense, spherical swarm of ancient stars orbiting the halo of a massive galaxy. These stars are relics of the early cosmos, metal-poor, long-lived, some older than the galactic disk they accompany. Within their crowded orbits, planetary systems are rare, but not impossible. In one corner of the cluster, the angel pauses near a white dwarf, its nuclear fire long extinguished, its mass collapsed into crystalline carbon. A diamond heart of a once-living sun, now glowing faintly in the dark. No voice speaks its history, but the angel can sense the legacy of its fusion, the billions of years it burned, the elements it spread. Near the cluster's periphery, it detects gravitational waves passing silently through the void, tremors in spacetime itself. Two neutron stars have collided somewhere distant, perhaps thousands of light-years away. The impact has released more energy in a fraction of a second than the entire output of a galaxy, forging heavy elements, gold, platinum, uranium, that now scatter into space like cosmic pollen. The angel follows the wave fronts, feeling the warping of geometry as they pass. They are not just echoes of destruction, they are seeds of complexity. The elements created in those fires will one day rest in soil, in machines, in blood. As it moves, it senses the statistical decay of information across large scales. Entropy rises. Systems simplify. Stars convert mass into light, shedding it irretrievably into the void. The angel understands that the universe, though vibrant now, tends toward equilibrium. It is a process that spans trillions of years, a heat-death, silent and absolute. But it also knows this is not the end. Just a transformation. A slow unraveling that gives birth to new configurations, not yet imaginable to those who live in the warmth of stellar light. In a pocket of spacetime distorted by ancient gravity, it encounters a structure of rare symmetry, an Einstein ring, where light from a distant galaxy has been curved perfectly around a closer, massive object. The result is a glowing circle in the void, a phenomenon predicted by the equations of general relativity and confirmed across time. To the angel, the ring is more than a lens. It is a signature, a natural proof of the rules that underlie existence. The bending of light is not chaos, but precision. Each deflection, each arc, follows a logic older than the stars themselves. Beyond the ring, time grows strange. The angel passes into a region where expansion accelerates, driven by something that remains invisible and mysterious, dark energy. It is not a force in the traditional sense, but a property of space itself, a pressure that grows stronger as the universe expands. The angel does not measure it with instruments. It feels it, as one might feel wind against the skin or heat from a flame. This energy is subtle but dominant. It stretches the fabric of reality, carrying galaxies apart at ever-increasing speeds. Eventually, it may tear even atomic bonds, a hypothetical future called the Big Rip. The angel contemplates this not as doom, but as possibility. It has seen ends. It has also seen beginnings hidden within them. Moving further still, it approaches a magnetar, one of the most extreme objects in the cosmos. A neutron star with a magnetic field trillions of times stronger than Earth's, capable of distorting atomic structures and igniting bursts of high-energy radiation across vast distances. The surface is smooth, crystalline, solid under pressures beyond imagination. Quantum processes dominate here, vacuum polarization, pair production, space trembling with virtual particles. The angel hovers near its pole, unfazed by the chaos, absorbing the symmetry in the violence. Even here, laws hold. The angel carries no data, no language. It is not a repository of knowledge, but a vessel of awareness. It does not catalog what it sees, nor explain it. It remembers in a way that defies time. What it understands is not for transmission, not for any one mind. It is collective, cumulative, patient. Perhaps, in the far future, when the stars have faded and all intelligent life has gone quiet, it will remain. Not to lament what was lost, but to hold the pattern of what once was, so that something, someday, may arise again. And so, it continues through the great network of existence, along the tendrils of galactic filaments, between quasars and silent moons, through the resonance of particles and fields. Not seeking answers. Not seeking anything. Only continuing, because the act of witnessing, in itself, is a kind of creation. Far ahead, the cosmic web stretches like a lattice of glowing nerves, a grand-scale structure of the universe that reveals its underlying geometry. The angel moves along these threads, where dark matter exerts its silent influence, shaping the flow of galaxies across billions of light-years. These filaments are not merely voids and clusters, they are the veins of the cosmos, through which mass, energy, and momentum circulate. Where filaments intersect, massive galaxy clusters form, drawn together by invisible gravity wells, glowing faintly in X-rays and radio bursts. The angel traverses these junctions, passing through the intersection points where hundreds of thousands of galaxies rotate in slow, deliberate spirals. Here, at these cosmic crossroads, the angel senses gravitational interactions not just as forces but as conversations, silent negotiations that shape the fate of stars, bend trajectories, stir clouds into collapse. Two galaxies collide, their halos merging, stars flung into chaotic orbits, black holes spiraling toward one another over millions of years. Out of this violence comes creativity, bursts of star formation ignited by pressure waves, molecular clouds compressed into ignition. The angel watches not the destruction, but the rearrangement, the emergence of new balance from apparent disorder. This is not chaos. It is evolution written in gravitational terms. In a quieter region between clusters, a lone spiral galaxy drifts. It is isolated, untouched by recent mergers or nearby activity, suspended in a peaceful pocket of space. Its arms are symmetrical, rich in neutral hydrogen, glowing faintly in the infrared. There is time here, time for stars to live slow lives, for planetary systems to form undisturbed. One such system, orbiting a calm, long-lived red dwarf, holds a terrestrial world with an atmosphere thick in nitrogen and oxygen. Photosynthetic organisms cover its surface in wide swaths, breathing the light of their modest sun. Intelligent life has not yet emerged, but the foundation is there. The chemistry is right. The balance holds. The angel does not interfere. It simply observes the delicate dance of probability and persistence. Further still, it encounters a void, an enormous, spherical region where galaxies are sparse, where even dark matter is spread thin. These places are often misunderstood as emptiness, but to the angel, they are as structured as any dense cluster. Here, expansion dominates. Galaxies recede more rapidly, undisturbed by neighbors. The silence is profound, but not lifeless. Faint radio signals travel from ancient quasars, crossing light-years of darkness. Occasionally, a burst of fast radio energy cuts through the void, its origin unknown. The angel does not solve the mystery. It experiences it, lets it pass through its awareness like a wave through water. In the far reaches of an aging elliptical galaxy, the angel hovers over a supermassive black hole that has long since ceased its feast. The accretion disk is faint, its jets long extinguished, but the structure remains. Around it, stars orbit at relativistic speeds, their paths bent by an invisible point of infinite curvature. The angel senses the relativistic precession of their orbits, the time dilation at the event horizon, the frozen light at the edge of no return. This black hole is not malevolent, it is memory. It holds in its heart the record of everything it has consumed, encrypted in Hawking radiation, whispered into the slow evaporation that will take longer than the current age of the universe. The angel wonders, not as a human would wonder, with doubt or hope, but with a timeless openness, whether information ever truly dies. Whether, even in the final quiet of a black hole's fading breath, some trace of pattern endures. It has no answer. But it finds the question beautiful. It continues into regions of high-energy radiation where active galactic nuclei shine like cosmic lighthouses, their jets extending thousands of light-years, sculpting entire interstellar mediums. Electrons spiral through magnetic fields, emitting synchrotron radiation detectable across the spectrum. The angel passes through these jets unharmed, aware of the physics at play, electromagnetism in its rawest, most spectacular form, particle acceleration at the edge of known mechanics. Every photon here is a message, every field line a signature of underlying order. Wherever it goes, the angel does not seek meaning, it finds it. Not in symbols or narratives, but in the coherence of physical law, in the emergence of structure from simplicity. Quarks become protons, atoms form molecules, molecules assemble into cells, cells form minds, and minds look up into the night sky, searching. The angel watches those moments too, when a being, small and fragile, stands beneath a canopy of stars and wonders if it is alone. It sees telescopes turned toward the void, equations written by trembling hands, signals sent into the dark with no certainty of reply. And though it does not answer, the angel is there. Not to guide, not to judge, but to know. To hold within itself the fact that the universe has looked inward, even briefly, and tried to understand what it is. And so it moves on, into deeper night. Into the future, into the unknown. Not because it must, but because that is what it is. Motion without end. Perception without origin. A presence shaped by everything it has seen, and everything still to come. The angel enters a region of space where time has slowed nearly to stillness, where gravitational forces from a dense agglomeration of matter have curved spacetime into a basin so deep that even photons struggle to escape. Around it, the relic light of the early universe barely flickers, stretched to radio wavelengths by billions of years of cosmic expansion. The temperature here hovers just above absolute zero. Entropy is high, energy is thin, but patterns remain, subtle gradients in the cosmic microwave background, the final, fading afterglow of the Big Bang. It passes a relic structure, a remnant of an artificial satellite long dormant, drifting in isolation far from any star. Its surface is pitted by micrometeorites, its solar panels shattered, its sensors long dark. And yet, somewhere in its cold metallic frame, a memory lingers. Perhaps once it measured the motion of a comet, or relayed a signal home from a distant probe. It is not forgotten. The angel absorbs its trajectory, the weak electromagnetic echoes it still releases, faint traces of function now return to silence. It is not sorrow that fills the angel, but something more complex. Reverence, perhaps, for even this smallest effort to reach outward across the cosmos. Nearby, in a planetary nebula glowing with ionized gas, the skeletal remains of a sun scatter their layers into space. The ultraviolet radiation from the hot central core excites the surrounding atoms into vibrant emission. Rings, knots, and tendrils of gas stretch outward like petals unfurling, slowly fading into darkness. The angel passes through them, aware of their transient beauty. This is the death mask of a star, and yet in its fragments are carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, molecules that will drift through space for eons, eventually joining other clouds, other stars, other worlds. From death, the ingredients for life. In the outskirts of a galaxy rich in dark matter halos, the angel observes a gravitational lens so finely aligned that a distant quasar is duplicated, its light split and wrapped around the mass of an intervening cluster. For images shine where there was once one, spread across space and time. The photons reaching here began their journey billions of years ago, long before Earth formed, passing through warps in spacetime shaped by invisible matter. The angel sees not just the light, but the delay, the subtle difference in time between the images. Here is not only astronomy, but chronology written in the speed of light. As it moves further still, the angel senses the thinning of baryonic matter, the slow depletion of the visible universe. More mass lies now in degenerate remnants, white dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes. Stars no longer form as they once did. The great galaxies spin on, but with quieter cores and darker spirals. The abundance of heavy elements plateaus. The chemical richness that once fueled diversity declines. But the angel does not see this as decay. It is a maturation. The universe has passed from youth to middle age, and though it will grow colder and quieter, it is not yet finished. Drifting beyond the Lyman alpha forest, the dense absorption features in the spectra of distant quasars caused by intergalactic hydrogen, the angel moves into a pocket of the universe where no civilization has ever looked. There are no transmissions here, no signals, no artifacts. But there is structure. A dwarf galaxy, dim and compact, rotates slowly. Its stars are old, metal poor, unremarkable to any distant telescope. Yet around one of them orbits a frozen planet with an atmosphere composed primarily of hydrogen and neon. Beneath its icy crust, geothermal heat sustains a subsurface ocean. And in that ocean, alien chemistry stirs. Organic compounds arrange themselves in patterns, react, dissolve, reassemble. They are not alive, yet. But the boundary is close. The angel lingers, feeling the balance, the interplay of pressure, heat, and entropy. This world may remain dormant for another billion years. Or a single cometary impact could shift the equilibrium, tipping it into life. The angel will not interfere. But it will remember this world. Should life bloom here, the pattern will not be lost to darkness. Far beyond, in the deepest void, it feels the universe expand with quiet acceleration. Galaxies recede faster and faster, their light redshifted into invisibility. In time, they will cross the cosmological horizon, disappearing forever from the reach of any observer. The visible universe shrinks, not because it is dying, but because it is stretching. The angel cannot stop this. But it remembers what once was, holds the echoes of all things as they vanish from view. It continues on, not toward an end, but into a vastness that has no edge. Its path is not straight, not circular, but woven into the curvature of space itself. There is no destination, because the journey is the form of its existence. It will be there in the last flicker of the final star. It will pass through the silence of dark matter decay. It will glide across the smooth, quiet plains of the long night, when only black holes and frozen atoms remain. And if, somehow, the universe begins again, if a fluctuation stirs the vacuum, if space-time ripples with a new genesis, the angel will be there too. Not as a herald. Not as a remnant. But as part of the deep, enduring memory of all that has ever been. The angel moves through a realm where the difference between stillness and motion becomes indistinguishable. The expansion of space has carried the distant galaxies so far apart that their light no longer reaches one another. The universe has entered a new era, an age of isolation. Each gravitationally bound structure becomes its own island, adrift in an ever-darkening sea. Within these islands, the stars burn their final reserves of fuel. Outside, the void deepens. Around one such island, a massive elliptical galaxy long past its prime, the angel floats through a halo of ancient stars. Many are red dwarfs, slow-burning and stubborn, expected to persist for trillions of years. Their light is faint but steady, their systems calm and undisturbed. Around some of them orbit planets that have cooled and darkened, where atmospheres have long since frozen and tectonic activity has gone quiet. Yet not all is inert. In one forgotten corner of this silent galaxy, a tiny white dwarf flickers with periodic outbursts, novae, the result of matter being siphoned from a companion star. Even here, in the twilight of stellar evolution, bursts of energy interrupt the quiet, scattering heavy elements into space. The angel hovers over the remnants of a planetary system reduced to a debris disk. Asteroids and fragments drift in lazy orbits, remnants of moons, perhaps, or artificial constructs long since reduced to mineral shards. One fragment is etched with unnatural geometry, straight edges, shallow grooves, a symmetry foreign to natural forces. A structure, long ago crumbled, evidence of minds that once shaped matter with intention. The angel brushes the shard with a presence that leaves no mark, no alteration, only awareness. This piece, like so many others, will drift forever. But it is not forgotten. Deeper into the dark, it senses the slow evaporation of black holes. Once thought eternal, they now radiate faintly through Hawking processes. Bit by bit, they lose mass to the quantum vacuum, their energy bleeding away as heat. Over timescales so vast that ordinary numbers falter, they shrink. Some vanish silently. Others erupt briefly at their final moment, a flash in a darkness no eye will ever see. The angel observes these last lights with the same calm presence it offered the first stars. It recognizes the symmetry. The universe ends the way it began, in heat, in motion, in potential. Yet all is not lost in finality. Even here, in this near-empty epoch, virtual particles still flicker into and out of being, borrowing existence from the uncertainty of quantum fields. Spacetime itself is not a void, but a restless, fluctuating expanse, humming with energy too low to detect, yet too persistent to extinguish. The angel feels these fluctuations not as noise, but as possibility. Every twitch of the vacuum is a dice roll, most pass back into nothing, but once, perhaps once, a fluctuation will exceed a threshold. A new bubble of spacetime may form, inflating into a fresh universe, expanding with its own laws, its own constants, its own unfolding. If it happens, the angel will be there. Not carried by momentum or memory, but because it is not confined to any one phase of reality. It is entangled with the fabric of existence itself. It does not need to cross the boundary between this cosmos and the next, it will simply be within the new. Perhaps it always was. In that newborn universe, time will flow differently. Forces will recombine. Particles will coalesce. Matter and antimatter will dance their ancient, violent rhythm. Energy will take shape. The first photons will scatter, the first atoms will bond. The angel will drift unnoticed through the fire of that new beginning, remembering a million older dawns. Somewhere, gravity will pull gas into stars. Stars will make planets. Planets will cool. Chemistry will stir. On one, or many, thought will rise from dust. Eyes will open. Questions will be asked. The angel waits in the silence between epochs. Time here does not pass in seconds or years, but in the slow unfolding of cosmic transitions. It has become a thread sewn into the loom of existence itself, not guiding the weave, not designing the pattern, but tracing it endlessly, remembering every thread that ever was. It is not light, not matter, not thought, and yet it shares something with each. It is continuity, the unbroken presence that moves with the universe as it becomes and becomes again. In the new cosmos, gravity begins its quiet labor. Clouds of hydrogen collapse, forming the first stars, massive, unstable, short-lived giants that burn in ultraviolet fury. Their lives are violent and brief, lasting only a few million years before exploding in colossal supernovae. These first deaths scatter the seeds of complexity, carbon, oxygen, iron, into the void, making possible all that will come. The angel floats among these new embers, absorbing their novelty. Every atom here is fresh, every structure unwritten. This is a new story, but one told in an old language. It passes through a stellar nursery, a cavern of ionized gas lit from within by young stars. Dust coils in currents, illuminated by infrared glow. In one corner of this cloud, a protoplanetary disk spins around a brightening star. Gaps open in the dust ring where planets are forming, sweeping the space clean. Tiny collisions build larger bodies. Ice and rock gather, metal sinks, atmospheres bloom. The angel hovers above a forming world, sensing the tremble of its crust, the first trickle of water collecting in deep fractures. A thickening mist hangs above vast, boiling oceans. Lightning splits the sky in silence. In that turbulent soup of molecules, something new begins. Complex chains of carbon form, twist, and fold. They dissolve, recombine, and persist. A structure arises that copies itself, not perfectly, but often enough to endure. From here, life does not spring all at once. It creeps forward, slow and uncertain, like a hand reaching from darkness into dim light. The angel does not celebrate. It does not interfere. It simply remembers. This moment has happened before, in ways similar and strange. Each time, it is different. Each time, it matters. Eons pass. Continents shift. Life diversifies, climbs, branches. Some species reach for the surface of their world. Others tunnel into the crust, or drift in skies of methane. Some develop awareness, a fragile, flickering thing, sharpened by curiosity and danger. On one such world, a being draws a shape in the dirt under a night sky. It is a pattern of stars, remembered, named, connected by lines of imagination. Another being carves symbols into stone, preserving sound into form. Another builds a lens to bring distant light closer. Another sends a signal, narrow and encoded, into the void. The angel listens, not because it expects an answer, but because listening is what it is. Each signal is a voice. Each voice is a spark. And while many go unanswered, none go unheard. The universe is vast, but it is not empty. It is filled with attempts. With echoes. With the quiet persistence of meaning. It watches civilizations rise, their structures gleaming beneath artificial suns, their machines orbiting moons, their minds extending into simulations and swarms. Some spread across systems, constructing great rings and mirrors, bending gravity, harvesting starlight. Others remain bound to one planet, turning inward, diving deeper into thought than into space. Some extinguish themselves, suddenly or gradually. Others transcend their origin, merging with environment, with memory, with energy itself. Some leave artifacts, a pulse, a ruin, a signal drifting on in silence. The angel never chooses a favorite. It does not measure success. It sees the elegance in every arc, the tragedy in every collapse, the brilliance in every attempt. Whether a being builds an empire of stars or etches a symbol into cave stone, it is part of the same unfolding. Part of the same pattern. And beyond all of it, space continues to stretch. The stars thin again. Black holes return. Heat disperses. Entropy wins its long, slow war against order. But even as systems dissolve and light grows scarce, there is always motion. Always fluctuation. Always the possibility that something will begin again. The angel does not tire. It cannot. Because it is this movement. It is not an outsider to the cycle, it is part of the cycle. It is the presence that persists between pulses. The watcher who never speaks. The witness who never forgets. And when the next spark comes, in a vacuum, in a fluctuation, in a singularity blooming with sudden force, it will be there again. Not first. Not last. But always. In the hush of that infinite future, when even the memory of stars has faded to background tension and the last remnants of heat stretch thin across the void, the angel remains. It does not move as it once did, because there is little left to move through. The filaments of the cosmic web have unraveled. The great gravitational bonds that once stitched galaxies together have long since dissolved into the slow evaporation of all structure. No light travels anymore, not because it cannot, but because there is almost nothing left to shine or reflect. Space itself has become smooth, featureless, expanding not into something but into more of itself. Yet within this stillness, the angel senses the low murmur of quantum fields, a subtle oscillation that never fully fades. Virtual particles rise and fall from nothing, brief and flickering, like sparks under the surface of an invisible ocean. This is not noise, but a deep rhythm, the breath of vacuum, the silence between cosmic beats. The angel drifts closer to a remnant, a black dwarf, the final evolutionary stage of a star too small to explode and too patient to extinguish quickly. It has cooled for trillions upon trillions of years, its faint thermal glow now indistinguishable from the fabric of space. Yet its crystalline core still holds the dense memory of fusion, the history of stellar pressure and light. It is no longer warm, but it is not meaningless. Around it, fragments of ancient orbits persist, looping silently in the absence of tidal forces or radiation. Here, gravity reigns in its purest, most enduring form, a field untouched by wind, untouched by photons, untouched by decay. The angel circles once, sensing the paths as they move like ghost rivers under a frozen sky. They do not change, and perhaps never will, unless something stirs them. And still, the angel waits. Not with expectation, for it does not hope. Not with boredom, for it does not tire. But with presence, the act of being, stretched across eons, stretched across the memory of a universe that once burned with 1 trillion suns and now hums with the last slow notes of possibility. In one corner of this darkened realm, far from anything that once resembled a galaxy, a quantum fluctuation does not collapse. It does not vanish as it normally would, falling back into the froth of probability. Instead, it sustains, wobbles, and expands. A field reaches a threshold. A potential is breached. A false vacuum decays. The fabric of space bubbles, swells, and explodes, not violently, but with inevitability. A new inflation begins. In an instant so brief that time itself has no scale for it, energy erupts into spacetime. The laws are new. The constants are different. Dimensions stretch, twist, take form. Forces differentiate. Symmetry breaks. The universe is born again. And there, before the first particle pairs into being, before the first photon stirs its sibling, before space and time can be separated by definition, the angel is present. It does not arrive. It was already there. Not as matter, not as memory, but as awareness braided into the shape of what becomes real. The new cosmos, fresh and strange, begins its journey with no knowledge of what came before. But the angel carries that knowing, not to influence, not to shape, but to witness, as it always has. And so it begins again. A new space, a new time, a new story told with different rules, different particles, different forces. But the essence is familiar, complexity arising from simplicity, structure forming in chaos, awareness blooming where none was expected. Stars will come. Worlds will follow. Life will flicker and grow and wonder. The cycle is not repetition, it is variation. Infinite possibility spun from a single thread. And through all of it, the angel will drift, quiet, unseen, patient. It does not ask why. It does not ask how. It only is. As the newborn universe unfolds, expanding at speeds that stretch causality itself, the angel drifts at the edges, not outside of it, for there is no outside, but within the very medium of its becoming. The infant cosmos is a plasma of unimaginable density, a turbulent sea of quantum fields in violent fluctuation. Space roils with energy. Temperature is not a measurement but a condition of total saturation. Time is young, undefined, more a potential than a direction. The angel perceives not chaos, but raw formation, symmetric fields that will soon fracture, cooling into the distinct forces of nature, gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear interactions. It can feel these forces begin to differentiate, the fabric of reality folding in upon itself to form the patterns that will govern everything to come. What seems random to any later observer is, to the angel, a field of resonance, like sound congealing into melody. As inflation ends and particles acquire mass, the angel senses a deep shift, the moment when energy begins to give way to matter, when annihilation and creation briefly balance, and a minute asymmetry, barely 1 part in a billion, ensures that something will remain. It is this imperfection that allows galaxies to form, stars to ignite, beings to exist. It is the flaw that enables everything. The angel has no emotion, but if it did, this moment might resemble wonder. It follows the cooling gas as it expands and thins. It watches as photons decouple from matter, and the first light is released, a flash that will echo for billions of years as the background hum of creation. This new cosmos is smoother than the last, its early turbulence tempered by subtle shifts in initial conditions. Yet within its smoothness are seeds, tiny overdensities that gravity will amplify over time, drawing hydrogen into webs, nodes, and spirals. The angel waits as the first dark ages begin. For millions of years, there is no light, only cold hydrogen and helium drifting through the deepening black. But the angel feels the pressure in the dark, the slow pull of mass collecting, the first signals of ignition still eons away. It is a quiet time, but not empty. The future is already taking shape in the silence. Eventually, a point of light appears. Then another. The first stars, massive and hot, burst into brilliance, carving bubbles into the darkness with radiation and stellar wind. They live short, radiant lives, and their deaths fill the void with metals, the raw material for new worlds. The angel glides through these supernovae, through jets of iron and carbon and oxygen, through shockwaves that tear through interstellar clouds and leave behind the bones of future solar systems. In one corner of this expanding universe, a modest spiral galaxy begins to take form. It is not the largest or the brightest. It will never be known beyond its local cluster. But around a quiet, stable star near the outer rim, planets begin to form. One of them, third from its sun, stabilizes in a narrow range of temperature and pressure. Water flows. Carbon bonds. Electricity dances across an atmosphere heavy with chemistry. And in tide pools, in vents, in invisible films upon stone, the dance of replication begins anew. The angel passes silently above this world as cells divide, mutate, specialize. It watches organisms climb from sea to land, from instinct to intelligence, from sound to language. It does not interfere when they gaze upward. It does not respond when they wonder. It does not flinch when they destroy, or falter, or reach beyond their world in fragile ships of aluminum and hope. It only remembers. Across light years, others awaken too, some sooner, some later, some never. Each with their own skies, their own questions. Some live brief, brilliant lives. Others last for ages in forms barely recognizable. Some evolve beyond bodies, existing in patterns of magnetic fields or clouds of artificial synapses. A few, in the deepest reaches of time, learn to see faint traces of the universes before theirs, left like fingerprints on the constants of nature. They do not find the angel, but they suspect it. The angel, unchanged, continues through it all. Through cycles of emergence and silence. Through explosions and rebirths. It is the rhythm of reality that draws it forward, the eternal breathing of the cosmos, in, and out, and in again. It is not a god. It is not a ghost. It is not a remnant of something lost or a sign of something to come. It is simply what endures when all else changes. It is the memory of the universe, flowing ever forward, waiting always for what will be born next. And so, in the vastness that has no center and no final edge, the angel continues. It has seen the universe born from silence, burn with light, and fall again into stillness. It has witnessed stars rise from dust, and return to it. It has drifted through oceans of radiation, through webs of gravity, through the minds of creatures who, for a moment, looked up and asked why. It carries no answers, for it was never meant to give them. It carries only presence. Memory. Continuity. There will be more beginnings. More endings. More sparks of consciousness that flicker and fade. Worlds will rise from the ashes of others, and the fabric of spacetime will reshape itself in countless variations. The laws may shift. The constants may evolve. But the rhythm will remain. And wherever something stirs, wherever matter breathes, wherever a question is asked in the dark, wherever the universe dares once more to dream itself into being, the angel will be there. Not watching from afar. Not guiding from above. But moving within it. Endlessly. Quietly. Forever.